Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something fascinating, often frustrating, but really essential in today's world. Let me set the scene. Picture Jonathan, a sharp entrepreneur from Boston. He's launching this great software branch in Porto, Portugal. Everything's looking good, team hired, office set up, and then bam. His Portuguese bank freezes the corporate account. Why? Because he couldn't get his hands on a apostilled EIN confirmation letter. Seems simple, right? But the impact... huge. Delayed payroll for 40 engineers. Can you imagine the stress, the chaos?
Oof. Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in.
Okay, so let's unpack this, because
Okay.
Jonathan's story, it isn't some rare exception anymore. TAPS documents are actually, believe it or not, one of the fastest growing things we're seeing in the federal apostille queues right now.
That's right. It really shows how these big global financial transparency efforts are hitting everyday folks and businesses with, well, real administrative hurdles.
Exactly. So our mission today on this deep dive is to really get into the weeds of getting U.S. IRS documents apostilled for use overseas. We want to understand why it's suddenly so crucial, what exactly you need, the common mistakes that trip people up, and how to handle it all efficiently.
And what's really interesting here isn't just that demand is up, but why this specific need for verified tax docs is just exploding globally. It's not random red tape. There's a definite systemic shift going on.
Like what specifically?
Well, take the OECD's Common Reporting Standard, for instance. That's pushed, I think it's over 110 countries now, to demand verified U.S. tax status from their citizens abroad. And it's not optional. It's really about ensuring global financial transparency, preventing money laundering and things like that. It's like a global agreement on tax compliance.
Okay, so a big international push.
And you see the results in the data. FinCEN data showed a 26% jump just in 2024 in foreign ownership disclosures that needed apostilled IRS forms. That's a huge increase. It really underlines how vital this process has become for any kind of cross-border finance. Wow.
And beyond that, if you're thinking about moving or maybe investing overseas, lots of those popular investor visas, Spain, Greece, Portugal come to mind. They explicitly list authenticated U.S. tax compliance evidence as a core requirement. You absolutely need it to get residency or those investment perks. It's fundamental.
So it's way more than just a piece of paper. It's like a key that unlocks the door for international plans. But why U.S. tax forms specifically? What makes them so important overseas compared to, say, just printing out your tax return?
That's a really critical point.
Yeah.
These official IRS documents, they prove a lot more than just income. Foreign governments often see them as proof of your official U.S. residence, that your employer is legitimate, and importantly, that you're complying with anti-money laundering rules.
Okay.
Without that apostille, which is basically the U.S. Department of State's international stamp of approval, banks, immigration officers, potential business partners, they'll just see it as a photocopy. It won't be accepted for anything official. It can literally stop everything, opening an account, getting a visa dead in its tracks. Right. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, if you're planning to live or work or invest outside the U.S.? We know the why now, but let's get to the what's. You can't just grab any old tax document, can you? Which specific IRS forms actually qualify for a federal apostille? Are there common mix-ups here?
Yes, absolutely. That's the first hurdle, really. People often assume any tax form works, but nope. Let's list the main ones that do qualify. For a business, you need that EIN confirmation letter, specifically a CP 575 or a 147C, that verifies your business is legit.
Okay, EIN letter for businesses.
For personal tax history, it's the Form 1040 tax return transcript. That's key. If you need to show you were employed with a salary, maybe for a job abroad, you need the Form W-2 wage transcript.
W-2 transcript, got it.
For contractors or folks with dividend income, it's the Form 1099 series transcript. That covers that kind of income. And if you need to prove your balance due status, say for clearing debts, the IRS account transcript is the one.
Account transcript.
Okay. And finally, there's one that's super important for tax treaties. Form 6166, the U.S. residency certification. That one specifically confirms your U.S. tax residency, which can be crucial for avoiding, being taxed twice by different countries.
That list is pretty specific.
Yeah.
Are there any absolute must-haves or deal breakers with these documents themselves, things that catch people out right away?
Definitely. And this is huge. We see this mistake all the time.
Yeah.
Only certified copies issued directly by the IRS can be apostilled, period.
Okay, say that again, only from the IRS.
Exactly. Your TurboTax printout, nope. PDF your accountant emailed you, rejected. The Department of State will just send it back. These printouts don't have the required security features, the official marks, like that Form 6166 we mentioned.
Yeah.
It's not just any printout. It has to be the one printed on special anti-copy paper, and it needs an embossed stamp from the IRS.
Ah, okay, so it's physically different.
Right. It's not just bureaucracy. It's serious anti-fraud stuff. That paper, that stamp, they make it incredibly hard to fake, so foreign governments trust it's real.
That makes sense. What about other questions people ask, like, do I need to get it notarized first? Or how old can the transcript be?
Good ones. First, notarization. No. Federal documents like these IRS transcripts, they're considered self-authenticating. You don't need a notary stamp before sending it to the State Department for the apostille.
Okay, no notary. That saves a step.
Exactly. Second, how fresh does it need to be? Generally, most immigration offices overseas want transcripts issued within the last 90 days. So, yeah, don't order it too far in advance of when you actually need to submit it. Keep it relatively current.
90 days. Good rule of thumb.
And the last one, a big worry for some. What if I owe the IRS money?
Yeah. Does that stop the apostille?
Actually, no. The apostille will still be issued even if you have a tax balance. The apostille is just verifying the document is authentic, not checking your payment status. However, having a balance due might cause issues with your residency application in some countries. So definitely check the rules for your specific destination.
Okay, that's a crucial distinction. The apostille authenticates the paper, not your tax standing, but your tax standing might still matter later.
Precisely.
All right, so you know what you need. You understand the strict requirements for the document itself. Now, how do you actually get the apostille? This is where it gets really interesting, because the DIY route, while possible, is just packed with potential pitfalls. Let's walk through the steps, keeping Jonathan's payroll crisis in mind. One slip up here could have made things even worse for him.
Right. The DIY path starts with Phase 1, ordering the certified copies. You have to call the IRS. There's a number for individual docs, another for business ones. And when you call, you must specifically ask for transcripts on security paper with a wet signature. That's vital.
A wet signature, like actually signed.
Yes, an actual ink signature from an IRS official on the certified copy. It usually takes about 10 calendar days for the IRS to process and mail these out. That's step 1. No certified copy, no apostille. Send a PDF. Rejected.
Okay, call the IRS, ask for security paper, wet signature. Got it. What's next?
Phase 2. Check document integrity. Don't skip this. When you get the document, really look it over. Find that IRS official watermark embedded in the paper. Check the bottom corner for the IRM form code. That proves it's official.
Looking for the official markings.
Exactly. And here's a warning. Any span lines, even faint ones, or staple tears, especially through the watermark, that voids the whole thing. The State Department is incredibly strict about the document being pristine. Imagine waiting weeks only to have it rejected for a tiny tear.
Wow, okay. Extreme attention to detail needed there. So you've got your perfect certified copy. Now you assemble the actual apostille packet.
Correct. Phase 3, preparing the apostille packet for the U.S. Department of State. This needs several specific things. First, obviously, your original perfect IRS document.
The pristine one.
Yes. Second, Form DS-4194, filled out correctly. Make sure you check the box for tax transcript under document type. That tells them what they're looking at.
DS-4194, check the box.
Third, a copy of your passport or driver's license. Standard ID. Fourth, a $20 money order. Crucially, payable exactly to U.S. Department of State. Not a personal check, not cash. Money order. Properly filled out.
$20, money order, specific payee.
Okay. Fifth, and this trips up so many people living abroad, a prepaid UPS or FedEx return label shipping to a U.S. address.
Wait, even if I live in Portugal, like Jonathan?
Even then, the State Department only ships within the U.S., no exceptions. You need a U.S. address, a friend, family, or a service provider to receive it and forward it to you.
That is a critical detail. Okay, U.S. return address only. What else?
And finally, just a simple one-page cover letter. List your email, phone number, and the country where you'll be using the apostille document. Helps them process it smoothly.
All right, that's quite the checklist for the packet. Where do you send it, and what's the real-world timing on all this?
Phase 4 is submission. You mail the complete packet to the Office of Authentications. You can find the exact address on the State Department's website. Make sure you use the current one. And a good tip, jot down both your outgoing tracking number and your prepaid return tracking number on your cover letter. Helps their staff find your file faster if needed.
Good tip. Now, the big question.
Yeah.
The timeline. How long does this whole thing realistically take?
Yeah, the timeline challenge. If everything goes perfectly, every step on schedule, you're probably looking at 17 to 20 calendar days total. That's from ordering the IRS transcript to getting the apostille document back in hand, assuming a U.S. address.
17 to 20 days. Best case scenario.
Best case. Inside the State Department, their current processing time is around 11 business days. That's actually down from about 18 days a couple of years ago, so it's improved.
Okay, 11 business days just for their part.
Right, but remember that rejection rate we talked about?
Yeah.
9% for IRS forms sent without the proper wet signature. That's almost 1 in 10 getting bounced back immediately.
9%.
And then there's the cost. That international courier to get it forwarded. The average was around $64 for a typical document set last year. So mistakes aren't just time-consuming, they cost money, too.
9% rejection plus courier fees.
Yeah.
It adds up. So what happens if you do make one of those mistakes? You mentioned errors add weeks.
Oh, easily. Weeks. Let's talk pain points. We see these constantly with DIY applications. Mailing that PDF printout instead of the official IRS copy, boom, rejected, weeks lost. Imagine, Jonathan, frantic about payroll, getting that rejection notice.
That's the nightmare, sir.
Or filling out Form DS-4194, checking the wrong box, like individual instead of federal for an IRS doc. They won't even read it. Back it comes.
Just for checking the wrong box.
Yep, that return label going overseas, packet returned, stapling through the watermark, automatic rejection, even leaving the pay line blank on the $20 money order. They can't process the fee, so your application just sits there, stalled. Each mistake like that typically adds about 3 weeks to the total time. You get it back, fix it, send it again, wait in the queue again. Honestly, a quick check beforehand or getting some expert help, it's way cheaper and faster than fixing errors.
You can absolutely see how this process could spiral, costing critical time, especially when something like payroll or a visa deadline is looming. Jonathan's situation could have easily gone from bad to worse. This really highlights why specialized services exist, doesn't it? What do they do differently to make this smoother?
Exactly. That's where professional help really makes a difference. When you look at the big picture, using a service means you're basically buying insurance against those delays and frustrations. While yes, you can mail it directly to the State Department yourself, your packet just goes into the general mail pile. It waits its turn.
Right, a public queue.
Specialized services, like the one we work with, often use daily couriers. They drop off batches of applications directly. This often means faster intake and processing, simply because they handle volume correctly prepared. They know exactly what the State Department looks for: document integrity, correct forms, payment, labels. They catch those common errors before submission, avoiding those rejection loops.
So it's about leveraging their expertise and process to get it done right the first time, and often faster.
Yeah.
What should you look for in a reliable service? What metrics matter?
Good question. Look for a proven track record. Things like a high on-time delivery rate for these specific kinds of projects. Consistently good client feedback check reviews.
Okay.
And definitely robust security protocols. You're handling sensitive documents. Look for things like clear chain of custody procedures, maybe 2-person checks to ensure nothing gets lost. What really sets the best services apart is that dedication to speed, accuracy, and importantly, customer support. They get how crucial these documents are. They should make the whole experience feel less stressful. Prioritizing your privacy with things like encryption and secure payment options. Peace of mind is a big part of the value.
Makes sense. Are there other things they might offer?
Yeah, often they offer related services that are super helpful, like certified translations if your destination country requires it, or even notary services for other types of documents you might need. It becomes a one-stop shop. And critically, they should give you a tracking system. You place the order, get a number, and can see exactly where your document is in the process in real time. No guessing, no wondering.
That transparency is huge. Knowing where things stand.
Absolutely. It's about knowing your vital paperwork is in expert hands.
Okay, so let's recap. Navigating these international document rules, especially for crucial IRS forms like EIN letters or 1040 transcripts, it's definitely complex, but it's unavoidable for global plans. Whether you go DIY or get help, here's that quick checklist again. 1. Order certified IRS copies. No PDFs.
No PDF.
2. Snap a photo of each page for your records before sending. 3. Fill out Form DS-4194 clearly black ink. Check the right boxes. 4. Buy a domestic U.S. return label. Super important, even if you're abroad.
Critical step.
5. Ship everything in a rigid envelope. Don't let it get bent or damaged. So what does this all boil down to for you?
Hmm.
It means that knowing these details, or partnering with someone who does, can save you massive headaches, potentially serious money, and lost opportunities, just like Jonathan almost faced. Don't let bureaucratic hurdles block your path.
And that brings up a really interesting final thought, doesn't it? In our super connected world today, how often are these kinds of processes, these seemingly small administrative steps, the hidden gatekeepers to achieving your biggest global goals? And maybe more importantly, how much is it worth to you to navigate them without a hitch? Something to think about.
Absolutely. A powerful question. If you're ready to skip the headache and make sure your IRS documents or maybe FBI reports are apostilled correctly and quickly, we recommend checking out apostillefbireport.com. They specialize in this exact process, helping folks avoid all those pitfalls we discussed. Based in Boston, but they help clients across all 50 states and worldwide. You can see their services, client feedback, check their Google profile too right on their website, apostillefbireport.com. Or just give them a call at 978-424-4629. They mentioned the quick call can often get your papers into their courier batch the same day. Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.